Okay, sit yourself onto your lift. So come into a good cross-leg position. And get into cross legs and have a little wriggle about. Just make sure that you're feeling that you're evenly placed on your seat bones. Just have a little wriggle about. Make sure you feel even. Hold onto your knees and elevate the heart area upwards. Drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take deep inhalations and exhalations. Looking down at the floor. Look at something that isn't moving. Keep your eyes still in the sockets, just looking at something on the floor that doesn't move. And then release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together, lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. From your elbows into the heels of your hands, from the heels of your hands into the fingertips. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. So sitting really upright allows the body to accommodate the breath more effectively. And when the body can accommodate the breath, it accommodates the organs, the skeleton, and allows the muscles to stretch. Just focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. And with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest, lengthening the back of your neck, lengthening the shoulders away from your ears. Just spend a moment in Jalandhara Bandha, seeking to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Bring the tip of the index finger in contact with the tip of the thumb, lengthening the other fingers away from the palms of the hands. Just a gesture of wisdom and peacefulness. Just an intention that we can carry into our practice. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently open and the focus to gently come back. Just sit with the hands on your knees, lift up into your chest and draw your shoulders really consciously down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across and your ribs across, using the exhalation to turn into the spine. Just observe how that feels for your body this morning, whether there is resistance, whether there is freedom. Just listen to the breath. Use each exhalation to turn a little more deeply. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees. Lift up into your chest. And then with an exhalation, turn to the left side, drawing your abdomen across. Your ribs and your shoulders. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Lifting the heart area. Drawing the abdomen across and the ribs and the shoulders. Just observing how it feels on this side. Whether the resistance of the other side is the same on this side. So turn the spine to wring out the organs. And then come back to the center. Just settle back in the middle. And then come up off your lift and then sit back on your heels. Big toes together, your knees apart. Just wriggle into your heels. So drawing the heels outwards. See if you can get the outer buttock bone or outer buttock flesh to come down into the inner heels. Push the shins really consciously into the floor, pushing the shin bones into the shin skin so that the thighs activate, so that you can then activate up into the spine, giving the body space for breath, giving the body space for the organs. Come forward, keeping the seat bones down on the heels if you possibly can. Keeping the head lifted. Keeping the abdomen extending into the diaphragmatic region. And then finally bringing the forehead down. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Listen to the breath. So draw the sacrum area of the back down towards the heels. Turn the tailbone in, down towards the heels. Feel how you can stretch across the sacrum. from the middle of the sacrum out into the side of the hips. Lengthen from the sacrum into the hips, into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists, into the palms. Keep your forearms off the floor. Keep pushing the hands consciously into the floor to activate the arms. Push them down and away. Push the hands down into the floor and away from the knees. Come up onto your knees. Have your little fingers on the edge of the mat. Have the thumbs stretching towards each other. Turn the toes under. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat. And then initially with bent knees, come up into dog down. Work to lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs. Lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling with bent knees initially. And then straighten your legs, just observing how your body feels this morning. Observing where there are areas of freedom, where there are areas of resistance. Just stay on the tiptoes initially. Tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, turning the heels outwards, lifting the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, lifting the tailbone up towards the ceiling. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Just maintaining rest if you need to. Just keep the feet lift, keep the heels lifting, keep the thighs hitting from the fronts into the backs. Observe the evenness of your actions. And then step your feet forwards, come up into the standing position. And then get a couple of blocks for your hands for parsvottanasana. Bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. Turning your toes inwards so that the outside edge of the feet line up with the edge of the mat. And again, lift up into the heart area, giving the body accommodation for breath. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. Keep your hands on your hips, and then hinge at the hips, extending into the chin, winging the elbows towards each other, drawing the shoulder blades together. Turning the fronts of the thighs consciously inwards, and then reaching down. Just finding blocks underneath the shoulders, and then really activate your legs. Just observe whether your body is reluctant to engage or eager to engage. So just observe without judgment. So this morning, my left leg is not keen to get engaged. That's usually the more easily engaged one. So I'm going to the right leg and getting the left leg to observe the right leg, to activate evenly, to bring evenness into the activation. If you can go down lower, then do. If you've got a bad back, it's better to stay high, but just feel that for yourself. Just feel where your body, what your body is telling you. So if you've been doing yoga for a long time, you typically have a pretty good idea of what your body is telling you. If you're newer to yoga, then maybe not. So just go with the side of caution in that case. But it's about knowing what your body is telling you, listening to the signals. So just spend a little time exploring the body's resistance, extending into the spine, listening to the breath, listening to the sound of the body's extension, because the body does send you signals that tells you how the body is engaging in the pose, and we need to listen to those. They're not necessarily the same types of sounds that we would hear with the ears, but we learn to engage with how the body responds to the pose. Bring your hands onto your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into Tadasana. Just be in Tadasana. The inner edge of the feet together, and lift the chest up to the ceiling. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Raise your arms up into virasana. I'm sideways, so I've got a bit more room to stretch. Hit your heels back, lengthen into the fingertips. So ideally, in Urdhva the arms are parallel to each other. If you struggle to straighten your arms, and bring them a bit wider apart. I can't straighten my arms all the way up because of the height of the ceiling. So I bring my arms a bit wider apart. It's better to have them wide than to have them closer together and bent. Just observe space that you promote within the physical body for breathing. And then release your arms. Just come back to the center, turn the palms out all the way, draw the armpit, chest forward, keep the shoulders down. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. So we're going to do parsvottanasana. So you could, last week we were using the chair, if you remember. So if you want to use the chair, then use the chair. Otherwise, have a couple of blocks that you can reach. And lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area up to the ceiling. Just focusing on your breath. Just in Tadasana, tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, tucking the tailbone in. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart. And then turn your left toes in really steeply as much as you can, and then rotate on the heel of the other foot so that you swing the whole of the body towards that right leg. Bring your hands onto your hips for a second and just feel where your hips are in kind of 3 dimensions in relation to the top of your mat. Now probably that back leg hip is further away from the end of your mat than the right leg hip. So pick up the heel of that back leg and then rotate the whole of the leg from the outside of the hip to the inside, and then turn the heel out, and then see if you can bring that heel back down onto the floor. Heels can be in line with each other, or if you feel that you're kind of slightly wobbly, then bring this right foot out to the side a little bit more. But feel first of all that your hips are level, in line with the edge of the mat. So activate your legs, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, lift up into the chest, lift up into the heart area, winging the elbows towards each other like we were doing in Uttanasana, and then come forwards, hinging at the hips. And then initially just find the chair or the blocks. And then just with the hands on the blocks or on the chair, observe the action of the legs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, and especially of that back leg, but also the front leg. How hip levelness of the hips allows you to extend into the spine. Keep the head lifted. Spread the toes of that left foot, of that back foot, and then stretch the heel away, really stretching out the calf muscles of that back leg. If you can go down lower with the blocks, then do. If you're using the chair, stretch towards the back edge of the seat. So you keep the front body long. If you can reach all the way down to the floor, then do. So just feel pose from the inside, feel how the body responds to the pose. Stretching the heel of that back foot away from the toes, lengthening the calf muscle, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, extending the chin and the chest away. If you can, if it feels okay in your back, then walk your hands towards the back foot. So either side of that front leg, walking the hands back towards that back foot, drawing the chin and the chest forwards, keeping it lifted. Try not to drop the head. Bring the chest down onto the leg. Keep the head lifted until the top of the chest is on the foot, on the shin. Keeping the legs firmly activated. And then bring the hands forwards, just either side of the foot. If you walked your hands back, bend that front leg and then step in with the back leg, come back into Tadasana with the feet, and then come up into Tadasana, just lifting up into the chest. Just observing the feeling of elevation. Just observing how those areas of intense stretch feel lighter. And then just put the blocks or the chair onto the other side, or if you're using the chair, you can just stay away from the chair in Tadasana and then Turn out the right toes and then step forwards with the left leg. Otherwise, bring the hands out and then step or jump the feet apart. Turn the right toes in really steeply, really steeply. So even if you have to kind of hit the hip back in order to access that, that's fine. And then rotate on the other foot. Swing the hips around, swing the shoulders around, swing the abdomen around. Pick up that heel of that back foot, turn it out a little more. So that has a couple of effects. It really intensifies the stretch of the calf of that back leg, but it also allows you to bring the hips level. This back leg hip will come forwards a little more, and that's what we want, level hips. Turn in the fronts of the thighs, really distinctly lifting up into the chest, and then come forwards, hinging at the hips, and then reach down and find the blocks. Lifting the chest, just feeling how the legs feel on this side, how the hips feel, how the back feels. Does it feel like your hips are level? Does it feel like your legs are working evenly? Can you project the chin and the chest away? If you can go down lower, then do. Or if you're using the chair, stretch the hands towards the back edge of the seat of the chair. If you can reach down to the floor, then do. Just observing the stretch of the legs, the extension of the spine. If you can walk your hands back, but not at the extent of overworking or losing that extension of the spine. If as soon as you start to round the back like this, then you lose the extension of the spine. Keep the front of the body lengthening forwards. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then walk your hands forwards, bend that front leg, pop in with the back leg, come back into Tadasana, and then lift up into the chest, lifting up into Tadasana. Breathing even, deep inhalations and exhalations. Work to broaden out the abdomen by gathering the shoulder blades together, broaden out the diaphragm region. Just listening to the breath. And then come down onto your knees, palms shoulder width apart this time, and then come up into dog down. Just focus on keeping the breath deep and soft. Drawing your energy into areas of the body that need it. Drawing your breath into areas of the body that need it. Activating the legs, tightening the kneecaps, lifting the thighs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards to give you space in the hips to lift the seat bones away from the backs of the legs. Keep the legs straight, keep the arms straight, swing the hips forwards, turn the crease of the elbows to face the front, trying to turn them out to the sides of the room, push into the heels, and then broaden and lengthen the chest, broaden the collarbone. Feel the energy in the diaphragm region. And then push yourself back up into dog down. Just lengthen the heels away from the toes and bring them down to the floor. But observe that that gives you a good stretch of the shins, especially if you push the shins into the calf muscles. But you'll lose the action of the seat bones probably. So just go right up onto your tiptoes, lift the seat bones as high as you possibly can, and then try and keep them high. Try to maintain that lift as you bring the heels lower to the floor. And then come down onto your knees. Just sit back on your heels, lifting up into the chest. Just observe the energy of the chest and the arms, softening into the legs. And then come forward into Adho Mukha virasana. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, push yourself up into a seated position. And then just sit back on your seat bones and just stretch your legs out. Have a belt where you can reach it. So if you struggle to lift the seat bones lift the spine in seated position, if you're directly on the floor and you struggle to kind of lift onto the front edge of the seat bones, then sit on a folded blanket. Have the inner edge of the feet together. Just feel that you're sitting evenly on both seat bones. The hands at the sides of the hips lift up into the chest. And we're going to do janu sirsasana. So first of all, just get your belt. Throw the belt around your feet. And then extend from the hip into the heel. Pulling the toes towards you, really stretching out the backs of the backs of the calves. Pushing the kneecap into the floor, lengthening from the back of the knee into the heels. Lifting up into the chest, rolling onto the front edge of the seat bones. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Just work in observation. And then just release, just hook the belt around the right foot, sorry, and then just cross the belt over so it stays in place, and just release it for a moment. Get hold of the back of the left knee and then bring the foot into the inner thigh as much as you can. Try not to lose the toes underneath the leg though, so it's like you're in virasana kind of position. If this knee is high up in the air, then give it some support with a block under the head of the knee. Otherwise, you can just bring the leg down. Just feel behind you if you disturb the seat bones. So maybe bring that front knee forwards a little so that your hips are level. And then get your belt again. Push the foot firmly into the belt. Pull the toes really firmly towards the kneecap so that you feel the calf muscle stretching. Push the shin into the floor, tighten the kneecap, activate the thigh of that straight leg. Turn in the front of the thigh inwards. Drawing the abdomen across from the left to the right. Lifting up into the chest. So if you've got a bad back, you might want to stay here or just observe the sensation of coming forwards, and if it's not right for you, then come back. But when we come forwards, often people come forwards like this. They try and drop the head and draw the head down towards the leg. That's all that's going to do is hurt your back. So you've got to really find this lift of the front of the body, all the way from the abdomen to the collarbone. So if you can come forwards, just gently lifting from the abdomen to the collarbone. Just coming forwards a little bit at a time. If you can reach around the foot, then do. Try not to put the thumbs on the top of the foot. Bring the thumbs around with the fingers. Keep coming forwards, lengthening the chest forwards. If you can reach around your foot, then do. If you can come all the way down, then do. But again, just not the. You gotta try not to drop the head too soon. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Just feeling the body accommodating the breath. Stretching out that heel of that straight leg, turning the thigh inwards. This is a really good pose for the liver and for the kidneys. And then gently come back to the centre and then stretch the legs out. Just again, move the buttock flesh out to the side. Get the belt again, hold the belt around the feet, have the big toes touching. Turn the legs inwards. The fronts of the legs, turn them inwards. Lift up into the chest. Pull the toes towards the kneecaps, extend from the hip into the heel, roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. And then just unhook the left foot, cross the belt over just so that you've got it where you can reach it. Bring the right foot in towards the inner thigh. This leg needs to turn from the little toe side from the big toe side. Just make sure that you haven't disturbed the seat bones. If you have, just move that bent knee forwards a little so that the hips are level. Then take hold of the belt again. Push the foot really firmly into the belt. Roll onto the front edge of the seat bones. Lifting up into the chest, turning the abdomen to face that straight leg. Extend the abdomen to the diaphragm, to the collarbone, and then begin to come forward as long as your back will accommodate it. So just a little bit at a time, coming forwards, just feeling how your back is responding to the stretch and just working in line with what it needs. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Keep the straight leg really firmly activated. Listening to the breath. And then raise your head, just coming back to the center, lifting up into the chest, just observing how your body responds to the pose or has responded to the pose. And then just release the leg, stretch both legs out in front, and then come into swastikasana, just into cross legs. Holding on to your knees, lifting up into your chest, rolling onto the front edge of the seat bones. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs. Just observe how the pose feels in comparison to how it felt earlier on. Maybe there's more freedom, maybe there's less, but just acknowledge it and respect it, whichever way it might be. And then come back to the center, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left. Digging the back hand into the floor, lifting up into the chest. Turning the abdomen, turning the ribs, turning the shoulders. And then come back to the center. Come down onto your back, and then just briefly into viparita, karanhi, just come down onto your back, hold onto the sides of the mat, bend your knees, and then lengthen the legs up to the ceiling. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. And then bend your knees, bring your feet back down onto the floor. And then get a folded blanket from underneath your head, stretch your legs out, just come up onto your elbows, make sure you're in a really good straight line right down the centre of your mat. That will just help you to relax. And then just move any equipment out of the way that's in the way at the sides of you. Just take your glasses off if you're wearing them, just to relax the face. And then allow the legs to fall apart, allow the arms to completely relax into the floor. Unhook the arm and leg muscles so that they become heavy. Allow the body to become heavy on the ground. Observe that feeling of energetic lightness that radiates from the bones and into the muscles. And into the organs. Radiating from the bones into the muscles and the organs and the flesh and the skin. ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final spinal lift. With the hands in the masti, just a final lift. Drawing your breath in through your nose, down into your abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. Good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin forwards and down to meet the chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. Accumulating around the heart area, and then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have really stretch yourself out on the inside as well as the out, and give you lots of good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.